Hello, my name is Mr. Davies. I'm the Head of Geography here at Sheffield High School, and I'm just going to give you an outline of the GCSE course for Year 10 and 11. The course essentially is divided into three sections: the physical paper, which is paper 1, paper 2 is the human geography, and then paper 3 is geographical skills and field work, that we also include a field trip to North Wales, which I will talk about a little bit later on. The first section is living with the physical environment, and we start off by looking at natural hazards, and we look at earthquakes, we look at volcanoes, plate tectonics, weather hazards such as tropical storms and climate change, which is very topical and obviously has a big influence on everybody and everything pretty much. Then we look at the living world, so we look at ecosystems, including tropical rainforests, hot deserts, and then the final section in the physical landscapes, we look at the British Isles, and we look at how the landscape has been influenced by glaciation, and we also look at rivers and flooding in relation to how it's going to affect the landscape, and then that ties in very nicely with the field trip that we do when we go to Snowdonia in the summer term of Year 10. In paper 2, the challenges in the human environment, we look at urban issues and challenges. So we start off by looking at how urban areas have grown. Now more people live in urban areas than rural areas in the world. We look at sustainable urban living. It's very important that people who live in urban areas understand their impact on the environment. We look at how we can make cities and urban living much more sustainable in terms of retailing, in terms of transport, in terms of waste management, energy generation, and how people travel around and how people live in cities in terms of their houses. We then look at the changing economic world. The world has changed enormously. Sheffield is a really good example of how a city has changed over time. We've gone from a very industrial manufacturing city where now most people are employed in service sector jobs such as the health and education. We look at the development gap and why there is a big gap between rich and poor countries in terms of their economies, how it developed, and what we can do to try and reduce that gap between rich and poor. We also then focus on the UK, and we look at how the United Kingdom has changed in terms of its north-south divide and why that's maybe unhealthy, and what we can do to reduce that divide between the north and the south. And we also look at Nigeria in Africa as an example of a country as a low-income country, and how Nigeria is changed in terms of its society and its environment and the cultural impact of the economic change and development that the country has faced. The final section of paper 2 is challenges in resource management. We look at three main important resources. We look at food, water and energy. Three things that we can't live without. We focus on water as part of the course, and we look at what the supply of water, how demand is changing, and any future issues that we face associated with water. In paper 3 of the exam and the course, this is known as geographical applications, and it's divided into two main sections. The first section is called an issue evaluation, and the candidates get issued with a pre-release booklet a couple of months before the exam. And in this is some information about a particular issue. So it could be, last year it was about recycling and incineration of waste and how we manage waste in the UK. It could be about road development in the tropical rainforest. It could be developing a new reservoir to increase water supply, and then they get questions in the exam based on that information. The second part is the fieldwork section. They get questions based on the two fieldwork studies that they have to do. One is a human fieldwork and one is a physical fieldwork study, and this is why we go to Snowdonia in Wales. We go to a little village called Bettws-y-Coed. The students carry out some questionnaires, they do some land use surveys and some environmental quality surveys, and they collect their data, they write up those results, and then they will get questions in the exam based on what they have done on the human geography. We also go up into the mountains and we go to a river and we do some river measurements. We analyse that data and see whether it fits the pattern and the hypotheses that we set up. We also take the students up into the mountains and we look at glacial features, which fits in really nicely with the glaciation part of the course and how we've been affected by the Ice Age. And on the way back, we stop in Manchester at a place called New Islington, where we look at urban regeneration and how that inner city area of Manchester has been redeveloped in the recent past. In terms of what you can gain from geography, it teaches you lots of skills. So we analyse data, we interpret data, we present data, we do research and we find out, we go through the inquiry approach, so we set up hypotheses, we're finding out information and analysing it all. So there's lots and lots of skills that the students develop as they go through. There's decision making as well, so they get information about topics and they have to understand. And also there's a lot of empathy. It's about understanding how the world works and the impact that we are having on our planet, and also how we can look after and manage our planet, because it's our little life support machine and we need to look after it, and if we don't, then it's not going to be here to look after us. Thank you.